On this episode of Rock Down South, we sit down with rock band Escape the Fate. This is a killer episode that you definitely don't want to miss. We hope y'all enjoy. Let's go.
Hey, what's up? This is Craig Mabbitt from Escape the Fate, and you're listening to Rock Down South.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Rock Down South, your home for rock and country music. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Craig Mabbitt, lead singer of the hard rock band Escape the Fate. And this is a super exciting episode for me, as I've been listening to this band for probably the last 10 years or so. They have so many good songs, and Craig is one of the best vocalists in the industry. So needless to say, this is a cool interview. And we talk all about the band's long career, some of my favorite songs, the band's brand new single, Hate Myself, and a whole lot more. So without further ado, here's the show. What's up, Craig? How you doing today, man?
Good. What's up, man?
So glad to have you on the show today. Really excited to talk to you guys.
Happy to be here. Should be fun.
Yeah. So you're on tour right now, a big tour, by the way.
Yes, we are out with Papa Roach, Falling in Reverse, and Hollywood Undead. It is the Rockzilla Leg 2 tour.
That's incredible, man. I really wish you guys were coming through Atlanta. I think Papa Roach came through a little while back, and I think I couldn't make it for some reason. Were you on that show?
Yeah, it must have been the first leg of Rockzilla, or because I know my buddy from Hollywood Undead came out to see me in Arizona, and at that time he was on tour with Papa Roach and Bad Wolves, but I don't think it was the Rockzilla tour. I think it was Rockzilla once Falling in Reverse joined the mix.
Yeah, I think you're right. I definitely haven't seen you guys. You're one of the few bands I actually haven't seen play live. We're at Atlanta over here, so I definitely hope to see you guys play soon.
Yeah, well, we got to get back to Atlanta then. Duly noted.
Let's talk to some people. Let's get this in the works.
Yeah, I shall pass on the info to the booking agents.
How excited were you for this tour? Was this in the works for a couple of years, or this come together pretty quickly?
No, it came together pretty quickly. I obviously remember hearing about the tour, and then Robert was telling us that Ronnie wanted to bring us out on a tour, and then talking to Ronnie when we did a couple dates with him in the beginning of December, we had already locked it in, obviously, but the offer came through and we locked it in.
Nice. That's awesome. It's an incredible package. If you like that type of music, I mean, it's great.
The fans are loving the package, and I mean, we've done a bunch of stuff with Papa Roach. We toured with Hollywood Undead a lot back in the day, so those are some of my really good homies as well. And then obviously the history with Escape and Falling in Reverse. We've done a bunch of tours together, starting from
the Bury the Hatchet tour, right?
Yeah, Bury the Hatchet tour back in 2013 to a bunch of other dates. I mean, that was the last group we toured with right before the pandemic.
Yeah, man. Screw the pandemic. We don't like talking about that around here. It's not fun.
No.
So let's bring it back a little bit. You guys have been a band for quite a while now. And I know I started listening to you guys a long time ago. I think probably started in 2008 when you guys had that song with Josh Todd from Buck Cherry. I think it was 10 Miles Wide is when you guys first got on my radar.
Nice.
And then I remember when Issues came out, I believe it was 2010, and I absolutely love that song, man. I bumped that song all the time. And
thank you.
And I was actually listening to it last night, and I was like, man, this song was actually really ahead of its time at that point.
I think so. I think so, because obviously, I'm sure a lot of artists do it. I've done it personally where I'll work on something, it'll get to the 11th hour and it's being released, it's being mixed, it's on the record, and I sit back and I go, I don't know if I like this one anymore. But on the other edge of that sword is, man, this one is sick, and then nobody knows the secret recipe, obviously. So it's like, oh man, I think this one's going to do a lot. And I just feel like a lot of those songs off the self-titled, I mean, it was Don Gilmore, it was mixed by Chris Lord Alge. There was a lot of bangers on there, but there was a lot of internal stuff going on with the band that I think really limited the reach, I guess you could say, of the album. But it did do great for us. I still hear Issues every now and then. People tag me in videos of it being played at some football games or some basketball games. It was just the industry at the time was the internal workings, and we were on Interscope Records at the time, and right around the time that our record was coming out, um, that's when Interscope, I guess, made the decision that rock just was not it anymore. So it was, I mean, all the bands in the whole rock department was just null and void at that point.
Wow.
So that one kind of went under the radar, swept under the rug a little bit. I mean, we were still able to release it. It was still a great record release for us. We just did a 10-year tour for that. We're still going to Australia in April for that anniversary tour for that record. But yeah, man, ups and downs in the industry for sure.
Yeah, I like that record. I think you could probably put that single out right now, Issues. I think it's still relevant and it sounds fresh. That's why I think that whole record and that whole sound that you guys did on that record was really kind of ahead of its time because, I mean, if you look at the music out, 2009 back then, it was still a lot of that quote unquote, butt rock, the Buck Cherries, the Nickelbacks, the Seethers. And then things started to change, I feel like, in 2010 when I believe it was probably Avenged Sevenfold's Nightmare when that came out. I think the whole radio rock started to change where people are like, oh, we can get heavier, we can get more technical.
Yeah.
And you guys are right in the forefront of that, which I always liked. So,
oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
yeah. So I was listening to some of the songs I hadn't heard from in a while, and I was scrolling through some music videos. Good gosh, man, how many music videos do you guys have?
I don't know. We have quite a few now. It's dude, it's getting to the point in my career that every time we do a photo shoot and video shoot now, you think you've done enough now after 15, 16 years that it would be easy. But for some reason, I'm starting to wonder, what do I do? Because I've taken so many photo shoots and video shoots now. Like for the new photo shoot we were setting up, I'm like, what do I do with my hands? Why is this becoming harder for me to do? Because I just feel like I've taken the same photo so many times, So it's like, how do I take a different photo? Do I just stand here? It's just things are becoming a little more not difficult, I would say, but just a lot more thought is going into things these days.
Is that the same with music? I think you have like, was it 6 or 7 albums? I mean, how do you keep making more fresh music? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this new one will be album 8.
Wow.
So it's pretty nuts. Album 8 for the band. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got the brand new single that you guys released, Hate Myself, off the album. Tell us about that one. I enjoy that one.
Yeah, that was just really fun. And it kind of describes the overarching theme of the new album. The newest album is based around themes of rebirth and regrowth and maturity and kind of killing your old self and your old way. And we find ways to say that and portray it on the record in different coy ways, trying not to be so blunt and so it's difficult. You go in there, you'll think of a line. It's like, man, is this too straight to the point, or is this too cringy, or is this is fun, but is it weird? So we were going back and forth with that, but that seems to be the overarching theme of the whole record, because that's kind of where we all are personally in our lives and within the band internally, is just kind of coming out of the shadows and rediscovering yourselves and rediscovering your love for what got us into this industry in the first place. So it's a beautiful thing, because you can always sit back and wonder, man, am I wasting my time? What am I doing? But then you're humbled and you come to the realization, you're like, man, I'm opening an arena tour right now with some legendary acts like Papa Roach, man. I watch Jacoby almost nightly, at least for a little bit. That man's a machine. I mean, he's so on point. He's got 10 years on me. He's sober just like I am now, but I think maybe even 10 more years on the wagon, and it's just like, he's killing it. So grateful. And then you sit back and you're like, all right, we're releasing album number 8 right now. How many bands get to say that? We just finished our second 10-year anniversary tour for a second album. So, you realize those things, and you're very humbled and you're very grateful and very appreciative that you're still able to be here after so much time. And and have the opportunity to still do what you love to do. And for me, that's create music.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at all your bio and everything, it seems like you've lived like multiple lives. You know, there's so much going on that you guys have been a part of.
Oh, it definitely feels like that for me as well, dude. Like a lot of things seem like a lifetime ago. A lot of things seem like it was a different life entirely. Like it was just a dream and that wasn't really me. And I don't even remember it, you know? So it has been a roller coaster ride so far for sure.
And so, yeah, I was watching some of those music videos, those early ones, maybe from 2006 and seven. And I was just remembering like me being in high school at the time and like, you know, the style, you know, it was a little bit more scene back then. And I was just bringing me back. I was like, man, I was a whole different person back then.
Oh, so was I. I mean, I still meet people today. Oh my gosh, that people are still seeing us for the first time on this tour, which blows my mind, you know. But oh man, I've been listening to you since I was 14. Oh, that's crazy. How old are you now? 28. Oh my gosh. That means I'm getting old, you know.
That's hilarious.
You don't realize you just kind of, you know, you go through the motions and before, you know, you said we weren't going to talk about it, so I hate to bring it up again, but the pandemic, before that hit, there was no time off, man. I've been on the road since I was 16 years old. I'm 35 now. So you kind of just go through the motions, you know. It's stage to the green room to the bus to the green room to the stage just over and over and over again. You kind of lose track of time and you know, coming out of the industry shutting down because of the pandemic and over the pandemic, I got my own personal stuff under control and I'm sober now. And you know, you sit back and you realize how much time has actually passed, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah, man. And speaking of that, I did listen to one of your past interviews on the Knocking on Heaven's Door podcast about sobriety, and I really
Oh,
enjoyed
sweet.
that. That was like you were brutally honest about everything, and you know, hats off to you. I'm glad that to hear that you're still doing the sober thing.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, man. And you gotta be brutally honest when the time calls for it. Has always been how you know I've lived my life. Like prime example is I hate going to the doctor. I hate going to the doctor. I hate going to the dentist. It's not fun. But anytime I go, I'm brutally honest because they're there to help you. So anytime you're looking for help, you have to be brutally honest or you're not going to get the help that you're searching for. You know, so I use that even searching for sobriety. It's like I got to talk about everything because I need help. You know, I haven't been able to do it myself this whole time. So
So there was a silver lining from the pandemic that came out.
absolutely. And it's weird to say because obviously the pandemic was not an enjoyable time. It wasn't supposed to be an enjoyable time. It was actually really horrible for a lot of people. But I definitely looked at it as an opportunity just for me personally. Like, hey, I've been struggling on the road for years with my own addictions and I haven't found a way to get the time off that I really need to kind of catch my breath and get my own stuff under control because you know, I don't play the bass. They can't just get somebody to fill in for me. You know, I have to be there. So when everything shut down, I'm like, you know what? I need to focus right now and take this time off to really if the industry doesn't open back up or what if the band does not survive this pandemic, at least I can take some steps for myself in a positive direction and use this time wisely.
So getting back to the music, I was interested. Was there a song or maybe a couple songs that come to mind that really resonated a lot more powerfully, either from a popularity standpoint or maybe from just like a lyrical or emotional or meaning standpoint that people have told you about? But what songs maybe surprised you that you're like, wow, I didn't think that this one would be a hit or I didn't think that this one would resonate with so many folks?
I'll tell you what, that one for the money song was a surprise.
Really?
I will tell you that. Oh yeah, I was in the studio, was not a was not a fan of it at all when we were working on it. I mean, it was just we were working on it and I knew it was catchy. It was like annoyingly catchy when we were working on it. And then we started writing some lyrics to it and I'm like, there's no substance here. And you know, I'll admit our group we haven't been like the most in-depth lyrically group. You know, I've always tried to focus on melody more than lyrics, and I have written some really personal dark stuff, but a lot of the times I just go in and it's just kind of like trying to find that melody and then fitting words into those places. And One for the Money was one of those tracks where I was like, there's really no substance here. Like I'm not connecting with this at all. And then I kind of got over it and I'm like, all right, I'm vibing with it. It's just kind of that, let's get the crowd pumped. It's like a pump up song. Okay, I get it. I kind of like it. And now it's the highest stream song of the band's career. So I'm like, okay, I was not expecting that one at all. Even management sending us numbers of the new song. Hey man, great job, you guys. This is how many streams in the last 7 days of the new track. It's in the top 3. And I'm like, this is for the last 7 days, and you got One for the Money, #1 spot still. I'm like, okay, sweet. So that always makes me like the song even more. Fans after shows will ask me, hey, well, what's your favorite song to play every night? And my favorite song every night is whatever song is connecting the most with the crowd that night.
One for the Money is definitely probably one of my top 4.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm afraid to admit that or embarrassed to admit that,
No,
but I
no.
love
I
that
mean,
song.
no, I've grown to like it more and more and more as time goes on. But when it comes to performing, my favorite song every night is whatever song connected the most with the fans that night. And it does change every now and then. There'll be a song that didn't connect one night, and we'll discuss it internally. Should we change it up? Should we play that one on this tour? I don't know. And then the very next night, it'll be the highest energy track of the set. So you never know. But I guess that comes with the territory because we've always kind of been diverse and we always love writing different types of songs. We love the heavy, chuggy, hardcore breakdown stuff, but we also like to get really like classic rock ballady on some things or like just super poppy on some things. And we just our likes are all over the place. So we try to just put that into our music and do what we want to do when we want to do it.
So you mentioned you guys focus on melody quite a bit over lyrics, and I mean that's how I am. I'm a melody guy. I barely ever listen to the lyrics or get into the lyrics. They can't be awful because everybody recognizes when they're just awful. But
Yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely more of a melody guy. But I have been getting into lyrics a little bit more lately. From a lyrical standpoint, is this new album going to be a little bit more personal? It sounds like you might have hinted towards that.
Oh, it most definitely is. This album is a little all over the place with that. It gets very personal. It gets very dark. And it's probably going to be the longest album of our career. I mean, right now we have 15 tracks that we are waiting to hear final mixes on. And, I don't think one of them might be on the chopping block right now, but I mean, our plan is to just put all of them on the record. In a landscape where artists are starting to just drop single after single instead of full albums. If we went in there and we have 15 songs, it's like, why not, dude? If we're planning on releasing the record, why not? if artists are just dropping single after single and the record thing is kind of not the main focus for a lot of artists these days, if we are doing a record, who's to say it has to be 10 tracks and that's an album? If we have 15, let's drop 15.
Yeah, man. So I was listening to some of your Dead Rabbits stuff, and I think the lyrics were standing out a little bit. I think was it Halo? It seemed pretty personal.
Oh yeah, Dead Rabbits is where I definitely get down more lyrically. And I'm able to do that because there's just left cooks in the kitchen. Dead Rabbits is like my thing. When I go in and I write for Escape, I'll write lyrics in the same manner, but then you have the rest of the band or the producer or whoever else in the room that's like, I'm really digging this, but maybe not this. Let's change this up. And then it's like that game of telephone that you play when you're growing up as a kid. It starts like the word starts bubblegum, and by the end of the line, it's bumblebee or something completely different. So Dead Rabbits is definitely a nice outlet for me to where, all right, this is what I'm going to write about. And whatever I write on paper is what I'm going to sing in the booth. And that's what's going to get released. And it's not going to get changed at all.
Yeah, I was listening to the lyric video for Halo, and there was some religious themes, some Christian themes. And I know you mentioned in the past that you were a Christian. Just wanted to follow up on that. Is that something that is still relevant with you or that you find meaning in?
So yeah, so I grew up um, with a very religious side of my family. My father's side of the family was very religious. Um, my mother's side of the family grew up Catholic, but changed to non-denominational. And so it was always a big part of my life. It was always going to Sunday school and stuff. And as I got older, asking more questions, which in my opinion is fair, but started getting some pushback from people around me. And then I had a really horrible experience when I was I believe I was 15 years old. And I've told this story a couple times, but I was kind of dating the pastor's daughter, and he found out and he was not stoked about it. So there's a lot of horrible stuff that happened with that. And pretty much at the end of the day, my family was kind of booted out of the church. And that's where I was like, okay, organized religion is not my thing. And I've attended church again since then. My manager has become very, very religious as of late, and met his wife and got married, and his life has really took a turn for the positive because of his beliefs and his findings and the way he's living his life now. So I've attended church with him. But I kind of just live my life these days where I have my beliefs, I have my own personal relationship with a higher power. And if that higher power, if anybody believes it's God or it's anybody else, as long as you're a good person, then you deserve to go to a good place, is my understanding and my beliefs. So I have my own personal relationship, and anytime I'm going through hard times, I pray. Um, and that's about it.
Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. So I definitely love the sound of the band, but I also do really enjoy the sound of your voice. It seems to always deliver on the albums and sound. It doesn't degrade. It sounds the same to me on all the albums, which is great.
Thank you
Um,
very much.
when it comes to live shows, though, do you have any vocal rituals or warm ups that you do before you go on stage?
I do, and to be completely honest, I really need to start finding some more serious ones. Right now, my rituals, I kind of only do them when I feel like I need to do them, and that's not, I'm getting older. I really need to do them even if I don't feel like I need to do them, because your vocal cords are a muscle just like any muscle. You should be working them out every day aside from just the shows. You need to do some warm ups. You need to stretch before you lift weights, or I'm going to pull something at some point. But I still like to make my special drink that I learned from a vocal coach like 10 years ago, which is just some throat coat, some tea, some ginger. Back in the day, I would add a little whiskey to it, but I retired from that. And then I melt some gummy bears in there because I was told
Oh,
that the glycerin. So this coach said that Daughtry made the drink, and that the glycerin from the gummy bears can kind of coat any holes you might be feeling in your vocal cords. So I've done that, and then when I told that to a buddy, he was like, "So why don't you just get Jello mix? That way you don't have to sit there and wait for the gummy bears to melt." And I was like, "You are a genius, my friend." So so now I just get the little bit of Jello mix, and yeah, I mix that up in the tea, uh, do a couple of vocal warm ups, and I actually just ordered this thing from Amazon because there's a band from my local town called Scary Kids Scaring Kids. If you've heard of them,
I've heard of them.
they asked me to fill in for them, and I think they got a couple new shows coming up. And since this is a band I listened to before, and I used to go to their shows before I was even practicing and becoming a musician, so I was getting a little nervous, and I got this breathing trainer from Amazon. So now I like to do that. So when I do my vocal warm ups, I just kind of put this mouthpiece in my mouth, and I kind of blow the note into the mouthpiece, which kind of enables more control for the vocal cords, but also it kind of eliminates the sound. So I'm not completely screaming through my house or on the tour bus or anything. So that's good. Helps with airflow, eliminates the sound, and is better for the vocal cords. So I like to use that when I'm doing vocal warm ups.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating. So, speaking of performances, what's the worst show that you've ever played? Maybe it was a bad performance you had, bad crowd, small crowd, or maybe just a weird venue.
Oh man, there's been quite a few over the years. Um, all right, one of the more recent ones. I can't say that this was overall a bad performance. So I guess the answer would be this is one of the most embarrassing moments, if that's all right. We were playing U Fest in Arizona, 98 KUPD U Fest. It's my home state. I'm super stoked. Crowd is huge. Now we're opening up with our track Ungrateful. And that one just comes in balls to the wall, screaming, shredding, drums, all that. So there's just a quick count. Robert hits the cymbal twice, and you just go all out. Well, apparently Robert's in-ears were not working. He couldn't hear the click, couldn't do anything. When Robert's in-ears are not working, this man, I've been trying to tell him for years, dude, just rip the in-ears out and go for it. Just play the song. Nope. So he hits the cymbal twice. The rest of the band comes in. I start screaming my head off. The guitars come in, but the guitarists notice before I do because they're on ears and I'm not. So it kind of sounds like they stop playing the guitars. I'm kind of screaming by myself now, and I eventually stop. And Robert's just at his drum set with his hands in the air. My ears aren't working. And this is a festival. So this is the first 30 seconds of the set. This is what everybody sees. So the only way to get out of it for some reason on the spot, I was like, all right, let's just get the whole crowd to chant F you, Robert. That'll kind of loosen everybody up and kind of take the embarrassment away from me right now. So I got the whole crowd to start chanting F you, Robert. He didn't like it. I liked it. we eventually got his ears fixed. He could hear the click, and then we played the show, and it ended up being a great show. But man, that was a rough one. And I'm sure if you were asking the other guys, they would probably have a lot of other shows in mind. But when I was mentioning earlier what I retired from, probably a lot of those shows that I do not recall, my good sir. So for the other guys would have a lot more info for that question than I do.
That's funny. Yeah, clicks and stuff like that. I think the audience, it always feels like it's way more embarrassing for the musicians when they tell me those stories. Us audience, we're like, what? Oh, okay. we barely even notice some stuff. They're like, oh, they gotta start again? Okay, fine.
I've always noticed that too. Obviously seeing friends play shows, and I'm like, man, you guys killed it tonight. Dude, no way. I'm like, okay, I get it now. There's definitely some things internally that you're going to notice as the artist that nobody else is going to notice. But I have felt like that's been changing a little bit over the years. Feels like everyone's an expert now, and everyone's got an opinion, and they're really paying attention to the smallest things. I mean, I've read some show reviews sometimes where they're talking about the light show and how good the light show was. Wow. And things like that. And oh man, the track sounded really good right here. And I'm like, man, people are starting to notice a lot of stuff, man. Better make sure we're on point.
Make sure you're on point. So these next questions are what we close with and ask everyone.
Okay.
So first question, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Oh man. I would say, don't worry. It's all going to get better eventually. If you want it to get better sooner, why don't you put down that damn bottle of whiskey? Is what I would tell my 21-year-old self.
So my next question is a drinking question, and it's what are you drinking lately? And if you don't drink alcohol, it could be anything refreshing you like to drink.
Oh, coffee, man. I put down the bottle, picked up the coffee for sure.
Hot coffee, cold coffee?
I'm a fan of cold brew.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, I'm always in the mood for hot coffee if I'm touring overseas. I don't know what it is about being in another country that I'm like, oh, I just want a nice hot latte. I don't know if it's because I feel fancy if I'm in Paris and I want a hot coffee, but anytime I'm stateside or Canada or anywhere there's a Starbucks, which I know there's Starbucks overseas too, but like I said, hot coffee when I'm overseas, it's cold brew.
That's all I drink is cold brew. Fill up on the stock cold brew, I think, in the grocery aisle.
Oh man, yeah, and you could get it from the grocery stores now. They got stock cold brew with protein.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Nice big glass of stock protein cold brew, and then I make some overnight oats on tour, just pop it in the fridge, and that's my breakfast almost every day. Just a nice cup of cold brew and some overnight oats.
Love it. So as you know, this is Rock Down South. So what is something, or maybe a couple things that come to mind, that you love about the South?
What I love about the South, let's see. I love New Orleans. Always had a great time in Florida. And you were mentioning Atlanta.
That's where we're
And
from.
yeah, I don't think I've ever had like a really bad show in Atlanta. I've always had some really, really fun, like energy filled shows in Atlanta. So I do have to give a shout out to Atlanta for that. Some great memories in Atlanta, um, from my whole career. Like I remember one of my best shows on a tour with Norma Jean when I was still in Bless the Fall was actually in Atlanta.
Yeah, man. Atlanta's got we need some more rock coming through us. It's kind of hit and miss sometimes, but
I know the last few tours, Atlanta has been one of those cities where people are like, "Why are you guys missing Atlanta again?" I'm like, I don't know. Bring it up with the agent. I want to go to Atlanta. Like this Rockzilla like 2 tours, the first tour, in the last couple years where we're finally going back to Portland and Seattle, the Pacific Northwest. And so I'm excited about that because that's where my kids are.
oh really? Yeah, you got a couple kids, right?
Yeah, I got 2 kids, uh, 16 and 9.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. My oldest
I
is
got
going
an
to be.
18-month-old now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
They grow up too quick. My oldest is going to be graduating high school before the end of this next record cycle, and that blows my mind. So,
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Craig, for being a part of the show today. Where can people find and connect with you online?
oh, you can find and connect with us on socials, on Instagram. I got an Instagram, and I go live on Twitch almost daily. Definitely when I'm not on tour. When I'm on tour, I still try to keep it daily, but we get some Wi-Fi issues sometimes, especially when these arenas get packed out 5,000 people. It's hard to get your signal out there, but I'm interacting with fans and hanging out and doing Q&As and all that on twitch.tv/Craig Mabbitt almost daily. So that and my Instagram are probably the 2 main sites that you can find me active on.
Thank you so much for listening to the show today. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I had a really great time chatting with Craig. Not only is he an incredibly talented vocalist in an awesome band, but he's a really great dude as well. Easy to talk to and really humble. Plus, it's super cool that we got to talk with a band that I've been listening to for probably 10 years or more. So make sure to go follow Escape the Fate and Craig on all of their social media pages and check out the latest single and music video for Hate Myself. You can find all our content at rockdownsouth.com and make sure to go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest updates. Leave us a 5-star review if you can. We would really appreciate it. And as always, the views and opinions expressed by our guests are theirs and don't necessarily reflect our own. I'm Mark, and you've been listening to Rock Down South. See y'all next time.